Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Friday. I am not usually on Fridays, but I wanted to wrap up this whole series because it's just too good to just leave sitting there. So I'll wait just a few minutes, see if anybody's going to join me. If not, then I'm going to hit the ground running and go over some stuff. Good morning, Selena. If you printed the content, then you would know that there's like an extra information. So I'm going to go over that this morning. Good morning, Crystal. Good morning, Nicole. Good morning, Chrissy. Good morning. So we have been talking all about relationships and specifically boundaries. And I definitely feel like there's so much more information on boundaries. Again, and I say this every morning, if that's an issue for you, if you feel like boundaries is an issue, crossing boundaries is an issue, you need to pick up the book by Henry Cloud called Boundaries, because it is so good. Get the workbook so you can apply the principles that he's teaching and like walk through it with him. It's so good. It's probably one of those books that I would pick up like, I don't know, every 5 years and kind of reevaluate my life, see where I'm at, making sure I have healthy boundaries in my life. But yeah, boundaries is a tough issue, but when it's implemented correctly, then you feel that freedom in relationships and you no longer feel the pressure of relationships. And by relationships, I just mean people, because we're just difficult and we're demanding and we want things certain ways and we have an idea about what our relationships and friendships are going to look like. And when they don't look like that, it's like, ugh, too much. So let's go over this. Myths and misconceptions of boundaries. These are not rules. We talked about rules the last 2 days. These are like myths and misconceptions, okay? Misconception number 1, if I set my boundaries, I'm being selfish. I think it's easy to feel like that at first. Like, why am I the only one setting boundaries? What are people going to say about me? People think I'm being selfish. I feel like I've heard those and experienced those in the process of learning to set boundaries for myself. But that's just simply not true. Yes, the Bible does tell us to love others and love them unconditionally. But healthy boundaries are a reflection of love for yourself and for the other person. Healthy boundaries are like, dude, I'm tired of yelling at you. I'm tired of getting hurt by you. I'm tired of feeling frustrated. So I'm just going to set a boundary in this relationship that says, hey, I can only talk to you. You know, you don't tell them that, but in my mind, I'm only going to talk to you like once a week so that I'm not as frustrated and I'm not as irritated by you, or I'm only going to pick you up one day a week instead of, every day of the week because you forgot something for yourself. You're not allowing that person and their consistent issues and their lack of an ability to carry their own backpack. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you have to go back and watch the videos, but you're not going to let them not being able to carry their own backpack affect you anymore. Good morning, Jessica. So, number 1, myths and misconceptions of boundaries. If I set boundaries, I'm being selfish. You're not being selfish. There's also a difference between selfishness and stewardship. Selfishness and stewardship, okay? A selfish person makes everything about them and therefore loses out on the abilities to love others. Sorry, I'm moving a lot. It's really uncomfortable to sit. We're at that place now. A selfish person makes everything about them and therefore loses out on opportunities to love others. But someone who is a good steward of the love makes time for people who take advantage of it, makes less time for people who take advantage of that, right? People who are chronically needing you and chronically having an issue and chronically having a meltdown. Those people are kind of taking advantage of your relationship and your time and your energy and your effort. And it's better to make less time for them, help them while they can. But if they're not embracing that help or that change in their life, then make less time for them and more time for someone who's actually in need. And I think that's the hard part about setting boundaries. Again, we do feel a little selfish, but take that time and spend it with someone else. Maybe your kids are losing out on time with you because you're helping other people that are just sucking the life and the energy out of you. Maybe your husband is in need of that time, but everybody else is draining it out of you. So, number 2, boundaries are a sign of disobedience. And again, these are myths and misconceptions. Boundaries are a sign of disobedience. Absolutely not. I think sometimes we feel like you've done something wrong. I'm going to set a boundary. I need less time with you in my life, right? That's how we feel. But it's not like that. It's not about you messed up and now you can't be a part of my life. It's about making sure that you have boundaries. In reality, it's those people who have a lack of boundaries that find themselves in limitless opportunities to disobey God. It's not because you messed up or they messed up that you need a boundary. It's just because, hey, this is kind of sucking energy and life out of me and it's not adding up to anything. It's just constantly frustration. So I'm going to set a boundary here. Number 3, myths and misconceptions. If I say no, then I will lose relationships with people. If I tell people no and I set my boundaries, then I will lose relationships with people. And I really, really challenge you to look at those relationships because this should not happen. And you really need to look and see, if I tell them no, are they really not going to be my friend? Or are they really not going to understand that my husband and my kids need to be my priority, or my work needs to be my priority? Are they really going to do that? Listen to this. Henry Cloud says this in his book. An internal no nullifies an external yes. So even if you're saying, yeah, sure, I'll be there, I'll attend that, I'll go there, I'll do that for you, no problem. But inside you're frustrated. Why do I always have to pick up the mess? Why am I always wasting time? They don't even care. They're never there for me. If you're saying that constantly inside of your heart, then you're not at peace. And if you're not at peace, you're not going to be healthy in that relationship or that friendship. Please don't get me wrong. There are seasons of our life when we give to people that are in need, that need it. And that fills our bucket, right? Fills my bucket to help people that need it and apply it and appreciate it. Do that. But if you're feeling inside like, oh, I have to do this again, I have to go there again, I have to say this again, then you really need to evaluate, is this going anywhere? If we are saying no on the inside, then we won't have peace, and we deserve peace. So we have to learn how to say no. And a great way to say no is a positive no. So you can tell them, this is bonus material. You can tell them, hey, I love what you're doing. Thank you for thinking about me for this thing. You need a ride. Thank you for thinking of me, but right now or attending an event, I can't attend that event because this is family night. And one of the priorities that I've placed in my life is family. And so I really need to stay tonight to do family night with my kids. I'm sorry that I can't make it, but hopefully your event is a success and I'll be praying for you. There you go. I told them no in a positive way by letting them know that what they need does not align with what I value and what I need in my life at the time. So, number 4, myth and misconceptions of boundaries. If I begin setting boundaries, I will hurt others. Saying no, this kind of aligns with the last 3 things. Saying no is a test for the quality of your relationship. Those that can respect your boundaries are okay with you saying no. But those people that you really want in your life, they understand. Not the people you have to keep up obligations with, right? Like, I don't want to do this, but I have to. Those are like bosses. And I don't want a boss as a friend. Don't be a people pleaser. It kind of goes along with this. If everything you say is loved by everyone, chances are it's not the truth. So begin setting boundaries. You're not going to hurt other people. You can say no. If you lose the friendship, then that person might just be somebody who uses people. And maybe God is saving you from being used and feeling like that in your relationship. So, it's kind of one of those things where you have to learn, que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. God, I am submitting my relationships to you. I'm submitting the people that you've placed in my life to you. Clear out, make room for people that there is room for, and change out the people that are robbing me of my time and my energy and my effort and it isn't going anywhere. I mean, that's normal. At some point, I'm sure me and you were like that. Number 5, boundaries mean that I'm angry. It does not mean that you're angry, but listen to this. We recognize that we need boundaries when we become angry, stressed out, have anxiety. Those are indicators. Those emotions are indicators. Hey, something is not at peace in my life, and I need to find out what is at peace in my life, what isn't, and begin to make those changes. So, yes, boundaries can identify anger and frustration, but it doesn't mean you're an angry person. It does not mean that you're an angry person. Don't get mad, get even is wrong. Instead, get mad and set better boundaries. Set better boundaries so you don't have to constantly live in anger and frustration, and set boundaries. If you don't like the people you live with, find new people to live with. If you don't like your friends and they're constantly making you angry, find new friends, join a new club, do something new. We've talked about this already. You have the power and you can change things in your life. Number 6. Myths and misconceptions. When others set boundaries, it upsets me. Well, that might be an issue. You might be one of those people. Don't be someone who is dependent on other people. We should only be dependent on God to meet our needs, God to meet our social needs, our physical needs, our everything needs. He's the only person that's consistent. So when we're finding like, man, they set a boundary and I'm upset and it really upsets me, you need to examine your life. And remember that when you respect others' boundaries, they will respect yours. And listen, God doesn't want you to isolate. He will put the correct people in your life. But first, you must be able to let go of some of those unhealthy or unfruitful relationships. Sometimes we're waiting. Well, I'll say no when I have better friends, but I want to go out tonight. No, say no, sit at home by yourself and pray. God, I'm lonely right now. I need better friends in my life. I need better relationships in my life. Please send me new friends. Help me get involved in a new group or a new organization or something where I can meet new people. Send me new people. But first, cut the stuff out of your life. Cut the crap out of your life. Cut those relationships that are draining. Cut those relationships that, like we talked about in the spheres of influence, you're spending way too much time with people that do not align with your values, are not helping you reach those God-given goals and dreams. Cut them out of your life. And number 7, boundaries cause feelings of guilt. Setting boundaries intentionally or not on people should not cause guilt. If you are busy and cannot see your friends or family, they should not put you in a guilt-ridden situation. You can and should be able to move about towards the purpose and dreams God has called you without feeling bad. Now, here's the flip side of this. If you're like setting boundaries, but you're just sitting at home asleep, people are going to notice that and be able to identify, oh, she's just choosing to sleep instead of being with me. That's probably like not a consistent thing you should be doing. But if people aren't helping you meet those needs in your life, those dreams that God has given you, and they're not aligning with you with your values, then cut them out. Don't spend as much time with them. Don't be at their beck and call. I think we have an unhealthy habit with our cell phones of feeling like we have to be at everyone's beck and call. As soon as they text, we have to reply back. Sorry, y'all, I can't breathe. And that's just not the truth. Let them sit there for a minute. If you're with family or you're at a dinner table, let them sit there. Unless it's an emergency, don't respond back. Unless it's your kids having an emergency, don't respond back. Give it some time. And I'm already at 15 minutes. I can't believe it. Listen, lastly to this, you are in control of your boundaries. Just like the fence posts, they are not permanent. They can change and be renegotiated. You can make your boundaries bigger or shrink them back when needed because you are in control of your boundaries. You're in control. Friends, this has been such a really good, I would say really meaty series. We talked about a lot of intense things. We talked about in the first week things that we can learn from Jesus, like not going with culture, but living against culture, doing the opposite of what people would think and feel, loving, forgiving, not allowing offenses to take up in our lives. Those are great messages. If you missed that, you should go back and listen to week 1. Week 2, we talked about the spheres of influence, how everybody doesn't need to be your BFF. Everybody doesn't need to be in that inner circle. Who's in your inner circle? Who's in your close group of friends? Who are those people? Keep only your consistent people in that inner circle. What are the values that you're going to value above in each category? What are some things that you're going to say, like, hey, if an inner circle friend calls me and a familiar friend calls me to do something on the same night, which one are you going to choose? Something like that. Put values. Oftentimes we feel like this is just extra fluff and, oh, I don't need to do that. But our brains will learn better if we spend 1 hour or 1 week really going over these values of those friendships. Write it down one time, and then you will remember and be able to apply these things to your life. Because remember, ultimately, you're supposed to live freely and lightly in the relationships that God's given you. And I think this comes with trust. This comes with trusting our relationships to God, the people in our life to God. But it can begin to happen in your life. Hey, I just trust God. I don't want to be angry. I'm going to set a little boundary right here. I'm going to give to this and not give to this thing because it feeds me better and gives me better peace. And then this week, we talked all about boundaries. We wrapped it up. It was so much information. I really challenge you to pick up that book, Boundaries by Henry Cloud. Such a good book. But I wanted to jump on today just to kind of wrap up this month's series and then just let you know that I love you. I'm here. We don't have a new series probably for the rest of the year, just because I will be getting nestled in with our new family member and trying to find balance and peace in the next few months, along with the holiday, the chaotics of the holiday. But I do plan to pop on every now and then. I've got some content I've been working on, so I might be posting that as well. So find that, follow me. I'll be back likely in January with a new series. And I'm excited about it. Thanks for doing life with me, friends. This is life. I don't tell you all the time, but I don't do this necessarily for you. I do it because it keeps me on my toes and it keeps me growing and it keeps me learning. It keeps me accountable to the people in my life. A lot of you know me personally. So it keeps me accountable and making sure that I'm living out what God is doing in my life, what God is speaking to me. And so I hope that you benefit from it. But if nothing else, I benefit from it. I'm growing and the people and relationships in my life are growing from it because I'm trying to be accountable and do what God's called us to do. So let me pray with you. God, I thank you so much, Lord, for this group. I thank you so much for social media and the ability to jump on together and share our lives together. God, I pray that you would help us. Bless us in our relationships, God, those people that you've placed in our lives, God, whether to be a blessing to or that are a blessing to us, God, I pray that we would be better stewards of those relationships, better stewards of our times in those relationships, God, so we can maximize, God, we can maximize the people that you've put into our lives, God. I pray that you would help us to be better stewards of this time, God, better stewards of our relationships, God, that we wouldn't not consistently be anxious or full of anxiety or stressed out when it comes to relationships, God, that we would learn to rely on you and live freely and lightly in those relationships, not because there isn't issues and problems and difficulties we have to learn to master, God, but because we rely on you, God, because we can come to our Heavenly Father and say, this is a difficult relationship right now. God, I give you control, God, and I give you not only control of that person, God, but I give you control of me. Change me, change my character, change the things that I need to be better at or do differently at. God, help me to set boundaries, God, that would help me to respect myself, respect the time that I have to work on the dreams that you've given me and the things that you're doing in my life, Lord. I praise you and I thank you for this group. I pray that you continue to bring us back together and help us to grow together. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. If you have any more questions, please message me and I will answer those. Try to get that for you. That might keep me busy for the next couple of weeks, so don't feel bad about that. I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye.